At the beginning of the movie, we see a video recording of a man named Wikus van de Merwe, an employee of MNU, which stands for Multinational United, a private security company. Wikus works in the Alien Affairs Division and is based in Johannesburg, South Africa. He explains that their job is to handle aliens, who are called prawns. Then we see a large spaceship floating above the city of Johannesburg. The interview video shows some people telling the story of how the ship first appeared 20 years ago, in 1982. Experts are confused when the alien ship suddenly appears and stops above the city. Since there is no response for a while, the government finally decides to open the ship by force. Inside, they find aliens in weak condition, malnourished, and looking confused and aimless. Due to international pressure, the South African government decides to bring the aliens, about 1.8 million of them, down and place them in a settlement under the ship. The area is fenced and turned into a military zone. As years go by, the alien settlement turns into a slum where the aliens live and reproduce. The place is later known as District 9. An expert speculates that the alien ship cannot fly because its control module falls off and goes missing. Then, interviews with local residents show that they are fed up. They don't want to live with aliens. And there are often conflicts between humans and aliens. The aliens are called prawns because their bodies look like shrimp. After 20 years, people pressure the government to move the prawns out of District 9. The government assigns MNU to handle the relocation. The plan is to move the aliens to a place 200 kilometers away from Johannesburg. MNU sends Wikus as the field officer who will distribute the eviction notices. Wikus and the MNU team go together to District 9. Media from all over the world covers the operation. When they enter the gate of District 9, they immediately see prawns running around. Wikus starts his job by knocking on the prawns' shacks and handing them eviction notices to sign. But instead of cooperating, one prawn hits the paper. Wikus stays calm and treats it as a signature, then moves on to the next shack. Then, one of the aliens bites a tire and attacks an MNU soldier, severing his arm. The situation escalates. Another MNU soldier shoots the alien, but Wikus tries to calm things down by throwing cat food, the prawn's favorite. At the next shack, Wikus tricks a prawn by offering cat food to get him to sign the paper. The prawn agrees immediately and eats eagerly. Most prawns are regular workers. They don't have leaders and just try to survive. On the other hand, there is a group of humans living in District 9 who act like gangsters. They gamble, sell expensive cat food to the prawns, and are even involved in interspecies prostitution. They also sell alien weapons. Their leader is named Obasanjo, a famous gangster in Johannesburg. Wikus passes by this group and doesn't want to get involved in any conflict with them. Wikus then finds a mysterious shack with cow corpses hanging by hoses. It turns out to be a breeding ground for prawn eggs. Because the shack doesn't have a permit, MNU calls the population control team and burns it. The alien eggs explode one by one. Wikus then finds a prawn hiding various alien weapons. An interview source later says that MNU is the second largest weapons company in the world. Their focus on handling aliens is actually to gain access to the prawn's weapon technology. However, research shows that prawn weapons work using DNA sensors. Only the prawns can use these weapons. Humans cannot. There are 2 adult prawns and 1 kid prawn scavenging through a pile of trash. They are looking for something that has been there for 20 years in that environment. Unexpectedly, the kid prawn finds what they are looking for, and they return to their shack. There are tools like in a laboratory. They mix some liquids and distill them until the liquid enters a tube and the tube closes. Wikus is heard approaching their shack, so the prawns hide the tube they've been working on for the last 20 years. Wikus then knocks on their door. A yellow prawn comes out and is immediately held at gunpoint by MNU because they suspect him to be a gangster due to a strange logo in front of the shack. Wikus then enters the shack and finds a secret laboratory. After checking every corner of the room, he finds a mysterious tube. When he holds it, his face gets sprayed with black liquid. For a moment, he looks like he is in pain. Wikus then examines a part of the shack that contains various prawn weapons. When Wikus interrogates the prawn, the yellow prawn hits the MNU soldier. Wikus gets knocked back and falls. The MNU strike team arrives and shoots the prawn in the head, killing him on the spot. Meanwhile, the other prawn watches from a distance. Wikus appears to be in pain, and his hand is injured. Meanwhile, the prawn in the red suit immediately goes home to his shack. The alien looks upset. Wikus walks towards the red-suited prawn's shack and meets the small prawn in front of its house. Wikus then gives the small prawn a lollipop, but the small prawn throws it at Wikus's face. Wikus, usually calm, seems irritable this time, and there is tension. The prawn in the red suit comes out of the shack, and it is revealed that his name is Christopher Johnson. Christopher seems to know that the letter Wikus carries is an eviction notice. Wikus realizes that this prawn is intelligent. He begins to threaten Christopher, saying he will take his child if he doesn't sign the eviction notice. Wikus enters Christopher's shack and finds various computer parts. Inside, Wikus looks unwell, then hurriedly exits and vomits several times. As his condition worsens, Wikus decides to leave Christopher. On his way home, Wikus asks his friend to stop to buy food. They stop at a burger shop. There, Wikus eats eagerly, as if starving. However, black liquid starts coming out of his nose. Back at the office, Wikus feels worse. He notices that one of his nails has fallen off. Panicked, he runs to the bathroom, bites his thumbnail, and it falls off too. Meanwhile, in District 9, Christopher and his child search for the tube that his friend had hidden, which is now confiscated by Wikus. That night, Wikus returns home. When he enters and sees his wife, many people have gathered to celebrate his promotion. However, Wikus looks pale and unwell. Piet Smit, Wikus's father-in-law and an MNU executive, appears dissatisfied and threatens to fire him. When they are about to cut the cake, Wikus vomits black liquid onto the cake and faints. He is rushed to the hospital. There, the doctor removes the bandages from his arm, and it is revealed that Wikus' arm has transformed into a prawn's arm. Wikus is shocked. MNU forces immediately take Wikus. His wife, who is curious, gets no answers. It turns out Wikus is taken to MNU's laboratory. There, they confiscate the tube Wikus took. The doctors discover that Wikus' DNA has been contaminated with prawn DNA. When his arm is injured, Wikus feels pain, indicating that his nerves have fused with his arm. Then, the scientists test Wikus using prawn weapons. As a result, Wikus is able to operate all of them. The MNU executives are overjoyed. They plan to dissect Wikus for research purposes because his body is worth billions of dollars. Since Wikus can operate powerful prawn weapons, many parties would want that ability. The worst part is that Piet Smit, his own father-in-law, approves Wikus being used for experimentation. Wikus begs not to be killed and used as a test subject, but no one listens. When the researchers are about to cut him open and take his heart, Wikus manages to break free and escape. Piet Smit, upon hearing the news, looks furious. The MNU strike team is deployed. On the run, Wikus takes food from trash and tries to contact his friends, but no one responds. He steals clothes, buys food at a burger shop, and while he's buying food, the news reports that Wikus van der Merwe is wanted for allegedly being infected with a contagious disease after having intimate relations with an alien. Wikus looks devastated. The customers in the burger shop are terrified and immediately run away because they are afraid of being infected. Wikus eats the customer's food and quickly runs away. He tries to call his wife, but gets no answer. He enters District 9 and hides in a prawn shack. The next morning, he lines up for food with the prawns. There, he eats cat food and realizes his teeth start falling out. Suddenly, his wife calls. She sounds influenced by the media and is disappointed in Wikus. Feeling devastated, Wikus grabs a knife and almost cuts off his hand, but hesitates. He only cuts off one finger that has already mutated. Helicopter sounds are heard chasing him. Wikus runs away and returns to Christopher's shack, then faints. Christopher brings him to the basement of the shack. When Wikus wakes up, Christopher asks about the tube because he can tell from Wikus's physical changes. Wikus admits he took it, and now it's confiscated by MNU. The tube is actually spaceship fuel, and Christopher plans to return to his home planet. He promises that if they can retrieve the tube and get to the mothership, he can heal Wikus. Wikus asks why they don't just make more of the fuel, but Christopher says it takes 20 years to gather that much again. The only hope is that one tube, but Wikus says getting it back is suicide because of MNU's heavy security. Wikus steps outside and realizes his skin is starting to peel. His wife calls and says she believes in him and wants him to come home. Wikus says he has found a way to fix everything. Unknowingly, the call is tapped by MNU, and they discover Wikus's location. Wikus goes back to Christopher and says he will help retrieve the canister from MNU, hoping that Christopher will cure him. After that, Wikus enters the gangster area to buy weapons, but they try to kill and eat him to gain alien powers. When cornered, he activates a prawn weapon and shoots the gangsters. They panic. Wikus grabs a weapon and escapes. The mission to retrieve the canister begins. After much struggle, Wikus and Christopher reach the MNU lab and recover the canister, but MNU forces surround them. Christopher comes up with an idea to build a bomb, break the wall, and escape using an MNU vehicle. Back at the shack, Christopher tells Wikus again that he can cure him after returning to the mothership, but not now. He needs 3 years of research. Wikus feels betrayed and punches Christopher until he faints. He then goes to the basement and locks it. It turns out to be a spaceship cabin. Wikus and Christopher's child get inside. Christopher, who just regains consciousness, is then captured by the MNU. Wikus installs the energy canister, powers up the ship, and flies it. The MNU shoots down the ship. Christopher looks resigned and is placed into an MNU truck. Then they head toward Wikus's crashed ship. On the way, MNU is ambushed by gangsters, and a shootout breaks out. The gangsters capture Wikus and take him away. Meanwhile, inside the small spacecraft, Christopher's son activates the mothership. Inside the gangster base, Wikus is unable to fight back and is about to be killed for his power. Outside, MNU surrounds the gangster base. Christopher's son presses several buttons in the small spacecraft. The prawn mothership makes a noise and starts to move. The prawn robot near Wikus also reacts. As Wikus is about to be operated on, the robot shoots the gangsters and saves him. A part of the robot's body opens, as if inviting Wikus to get inside. Meanwhile, the moving mothership grabs everyone's attention. Wikus, realizing he is surrounded by MNU, decides to enter the prawn robot. Wikus comes out and sees Christopher being held. At first, an angry Wikus refuses to help Christopher and wants to leave him. But using the robot's ability, Wikus hears that they plan to kill Christopher. He changes his mind and rescues him. He leads Christopher to the spacecraft where his son is waiting. Although the robot he rides is damaged and weakened by gunfire, he holds on and reaches the ship. Christopher promises to return in 3 years and cure him. With the last of the robot's energy, Wikus shoots at the MNU strike team and protects Christopher and his son. The mothership moves and stops right above Christopher's ship. A blue light appears and pulls the ship up toward the mothership. Wikus, with the last of the prawn robot's power, defends Christopher's ship from the MNU attack. As Christopher boards the mothership, the prawn robot collapses. With his last strength, Wikus exits the robot. An MNU strike team soldier almost kills him, but the prawns arrive and save him. They dismantle the soldier's body. Above, Christopher enters the mothership's cockpit and sets the course for the prawn planet. The mothership begins to leave Earth. Many people cheer, and Wikus is seen smiling as he watches the prawn ship leave Earth. Later, an interview shows a source saying that since then, Wikus is never seen again. He seems to vanish. Even his family believes he is dead. Then, Wikus's colleague leaks MNU's illegal genetic research. The prawns are relocated to District 10, 200 kilometers from the city center, and District 9 is destroyed. Now, District 10 is inhabited by 2.5 million prawns and continues to grow. In the end, Wikus's wife finds a single metal flower in front of her house. She doesn't know who placed it there. Then a prawn is seen crafting a flower from metal among piles of trash.